about what has happened. But the people who've been working with Virginia for 5 or 6 years, we've all known each other. Obviously, they are the people that I am trusting the most. And Kirby is at the top of that list. She's done phenomenal research, kept a level head, and kept us all well informed. So I would urge people to check out her oeuvre, all of the books she's written on this in this genre. And in 8 minutes, we've got Kelly Patterson, Survivor, is coming in. She just did a 2-hour video on Virginia this morning. It was actually top of my suggested. Kelly was with us 2 weeks ago. She did a podcast here about being transported by elite from age 6. So tomorrow it's Kirby at 2. Ron's coming in with his shows. And I think he's speaking to Elliot Orr, who was in touch with Virginia a lot. He's one of those young conspiracy researchers we had on a couple of weeks ago. I think he's only 19. And he knows Kirby as well. And then we've got Grooming Gang survivor Kate coming on tomorrow at 7. And then at 8, we've got a female survivor panel doing a discussion and a tribute to Virginia. And I know Zara Marley and Bev are going to be joining that. So we're going to get Kelly Patterson in next. She's going to actually come into the stream. We're not setting up a new stream, but there was a very pertinent comment that I just saw. Let me see what it is. Questions. Someone's asking about whether Virginia was writing a book. If Kirby is still in the chat, are you aware of whether or not Virginia was writing a book? Because if she was, and if she had all of her research at home, this just makes this even more suspicious. So Kirby did a 1-hour plus video also today on Virginia. I'm going to put that one in the live chat as well right now. It's in the links in the description box. I'd urge people to listen to all the details in that one. But the one we just did was the latest one, and it kind of updated information from that one. So Little Miss Jane is saying she was, and she had sold the rights to her memoir. So if she sold the rights to her memoir, she must have been working on the memoir. Hey, I'm downloading Kirby's book right now. Oh, well done. Oh, no, Virginia was not writing a book. Okay. If she sold the rights to her memoir, does that not mean she would have to deliver the memoir? Or unless she had a ghostwriter doing it for her. That would be the only other option, wouldn't it? So I would still imagine the cops probably thought, or whoever was worried about their names coming out, probably thought, we need to do a sweep on this woman's house. Look what she did to Prince Andrew. There was so many other people worried what might come out about them. And for the cops to be there for half a day and seizing a load of documents or property, going over it, they would, same thing as the Epstein tapes, isn't it? What were we told by the Florida cop who, when they seized all of the property from the Epstein's Florida residence, the Florida cops that were at the bottom of the totem pole didn't think their superiors would process it, or it would fall into the wrong hands? Joseph Recurry expressed concerns about this, and he was unalived. He was an extremely fit man in his middle age. He was unalived, Joseph Recurry. And then we had the other cop who fled to Russia from the police department in Florida. It was part of the team who were taking information out of Epstein's property. And he claimed there were tapes that he'd made copies of, but we never saw the light of day of any of that. What was his name? Mark Duggan. Do you remember Mark Duggan when we had him on? But you can Google Joseph Recurry, and it's documented how he died. And he was the one who expressed concerns to Duggan that when they take the tapes and stuff, that it wouldn't see the light of day. because, of course, whatever Jeffrey was doing was above Acosta's pay grade. But nobody will answer the question, who told Acosta that? Who gave Acosta the instruction to give Jeffrey a pass, a sweetheart deal? John Mark Duggan still has a channel on Rumble, Big Basil has just said. All right. Might have to catch up with that and see what his latest is. Yeah, so Jeffrey had this sweetheart deal, wasn't even in the Florida jail. He was in the stockade. He donated over $100,000 to the sheriff, and the sheriff's deputies were basically behaving like his bodyguards, screening his visits. I can just imagine Jeff now with his feet up on the table, calling Mandelson here in the UK, the politician, continuing to do all of his business deals. Yep, Tara, the sweetheart deal was absolutely disgusting. It was just a way to criminalize the survivors and label them in a certain way. Like we saw in the Franklin scandal. The only people who went to prison in the Franklin scandal were the survivors. The investigator crashed in his plane with his little son, both unalived. It just seems a commonality in all of these cases that so many people mysteriously die. And if you guys tuned in yesterday, I gave my theory of levels of pressure being put on Virginia from various quarters that would facilitate her leaning on more big pharma meds. And we didn't know whether Virginia had used a rope or a gun. But today, from speaking to Kirby and hearing her video and the lawyer, what the lawyer said, we now know that big pharma meds were involved. So now we've just got to look at the chain of causation of who put the stress on her to see, what kinds of responsibility where it lies. All right, so hugely delighted to have Kelly Patterson back on the channel on extremely short notice. I woke up today and the top of my YouTube feed, there was a video, on almost 2-hour video on Virginia that Kelly and her friends had done. And I'm gonna put it in the description box, the link for that video. Be a good one to watch after this, a good 2 hours of it, and also put it in the live chat right now. If you guys are not familiar with Kelly's work, she came on a couple of weeks ago, did a podcast with us about getting transported to elites from age 6. And the link for that podcast is also in the description box. And I shall also put that in the live chat right now. Oh, Kelly, huge thank you for coming on at such short notice.
Thank you for not having me come on in the morning. I am not a morning person. Some habits just don't die easy.
Yeah, same here. I prefer doing the streams in the evenings, UK time at least. Yeah. So, when you heard this absolutely tragic news about Virginia at the weekend, what was your gut reaction, Kelly?
Well, first, of course, it was just sorrow. I didn't personally know her. I know several people that know her. We're like one person away from meeting, basically. And then my next thought immediately was, this is a warning. I don't for a second believe. I honestly haven't been able to hear anything that you've done on this. I had grandkids for a couple of days. And I really wanted to, because I wanted to be up to date with what's new. So I'm just going to have to shoot, from the hip here with what I felt. And I don't buy the self unaliving at all. I know that there are a lot of reasons to think so. And I did not get to hear the stuff I just saw, the tail end of yours about Big Pharma. I wouldn't mind hearing what that's about. If you wanted to give me just a quick overview. And then
Of course.
my biggest concern next was just the community, the survivor community.
Yeah, everyone's been very traumatized. So, Kelly, the day we got the news, we went live, and we've been doing collaborations with Virginia now for 5 or 6 years since this all blew up in the media. So there's a lot of people that we're very close to on this channel, and people like Maria Farmer as well, Juliet Bryant, a few of the Epstein survivors, felt safe enough to come over here and talk to us. Kirby Sommers is a survivor of the network, and she's done a lot of work. She's been prolific. She's been, in touch with Virginia and been kind of at the forefront of the information coming in. And she's coming on live tomorrow at 2 p.m. So anyway, we spoke to about half a dozen people close, many of them close to Virginia, others, researchers, and they had a variety of opinions. And I went to bed that night just with all these opinions just going around in my head, trying to assimilate them into something as close as I could get to my own coherent theory. We had Beverly Rhodes on yesterday talking about the kill switch. So I think that when someone is unalive these days, for example, if it's like a pop star like Prince or Michael Jackson, because they're trying to get independent of a record label, and the record label knows they're worth way more to them dead than alive, they bring in these Dr. Feelgood quack doctors who facilitate an increase in medication that eventually reaches a tipping point and the person is unalived. So I felt that possibly there was a component of that in this. I didn't know whether Big Pharma meds were involved, even though I theorized that yesterday, I think. I didn't know that Big Pharma meds were involved until Virginia's lawyer stated that today. So it does look like it has played a role in it. Now, what the stresses were and what, could have tipped her in this direction, we are trying to analyze. And you've also got the double whammy of this really peculiar bus accident thing. Now, there's a theory that was put in the chat earlier because Kirby Sommers has been talking about the domestic violence that Virginia was suffering. And someone put in the chat earlier that possibly Virginia's husband, Robert, Virginia was trying to hide the injuries under this story about the bus, because the bus, the bus driver is saying that it was a minor thing or she wasn't even there. But this is just a theory, Kelly. There's all kinds of theories circulating around. I'm sure as more information comes in, we will know more. But that's what is coming to me just from speaking to all the people I've spoke to so far.
Okay. So, well, the bus, of course, we could start there. I think you had someone speak about this, and we spoke about this as well on our podcast, that that whole thing is so suspicious. And the photos themselves, I still question if she was around after that. And I'll tell you why. I know someone who spoke to her 4 days after that, and spoke to her. However, there was just some conversation we had between she and I, and just some things that make me concerned with all that we can do with AI just to imitate a person's features, let alone their voice. People have been around for decades and centuries probably that can imitate other people's voices. So if people can do it, how easy is it for AI? And it was a phone call. It wasn't face-to-face. So that's very concerning to me. We were told, so many things. So I don't know, you may have done the same. We called out for proof of life after all of that. And instead, this is what we get. So sometimes 2 + 2 really does equal 4, you know. And something, did you read, or has someone read her note from 2019 that she would never do this? So you've read the wording from that as well. So here's how I look at it from the perspective of some of the wording in that very note. Even though it was 2019, a lot of time has passed, a lot of things have gone on. I understand that. But if
you're going to read the note, let's use the word unalived instead of the S word as well.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't use it, did I?
Right. No, not yet. I'm just anticipating.
Yes. No, I have to. I've been learning. And I'm getting better. I haven't had put anything in our swear jar for using those words that YouTube doesn't allow. We've got 1 or 2 people owing a lot of money. But I want to bring up. I have it here. I want to bring that note up specifically because I want to note a phrase. Excuse me. If something happens to me, in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. So here's what I say to that. I put out the same statement last night for myself. I read her statement and then I spoke about it. And I said, I never have been and I never will be someone who would unalive myself. The fact that she very specifically put this out, it's not like she forgot she put it out. You don't forget a statement like that when you live with what you've been through every single day. And every single day, especially with her going through divorce proceedings and so on, and being accused of certain things, you remember those statements because they're possibly even used in the divorce proceedings, or you're anticipating them being used. So for one thing, she's got that on her mind. When she made that statement, it was meant to be a forever statement to all of us as well. If something ever happens to me, right, don't let this go away. And I took that very literal and very serious. So I did make the same statement for myself, and I mean it. That is not a direction I would ever go. I wouldn't. So, and she specifically said something that is more important than all of it, and that is for the sake of my family. For the sake of my family. She had children that she was concerned about, that she cared about, that she was being, it sounds like, a bit deprived of, right? Let me add to that in the bus incident, if that were something from her husband, and she's trying to win a court case, you wouldn't blame a bus. You would blame the person you're in court against. It makes no sense. The bus driver not even knowing if she was in the vehicle is so strange. I mean, it's all so suspect. I just, I don't buy it. I believe she wrote what she wrote in 2019